Welcome everyone. March 28th, 2025, this week in crypto. Maxim will be with us momentarily. I'm Brian. I am going to guide us through some of the biggest indicators and metrics to keep an eye on as we end the week here on a bit of a sour note. Crypto did seem to really get its legs in the middle part of this week, getting a little above 88K as far as Bitcoin's market value was concerned. Ethereum was well above 2,000 as well, close to 2,100. And as of today, at least in the U.S. where I woke up, we saw quite a bloodbath going on the backs of inflation fears and a pretty big story related to Canada and the U.S. having some serious tensions going on. So we are not going to get too much into politics, but we will get into how much of the world economic conditions are being attributed to stock markets versus crypto markets, whether crypto is kind of just being dragged down by global economic conditions at the moment, or whether it can recover once the dust settles, whether this is kind of a sell the rumor, buy the news situation. We'll try to look at a lot of news pieces and see the social trends situation, as well as what key stakeholders are doing in this short sample size to get an idea of whether they're panicking. Because if they are, then we have some legit concern. If they're just accumulating or hodling as normal, then we should be just fine once the markets start to settle down on the stock side of things. But looking at the price changes over the past week, yeah, we have two assets here that are kind of dwarfing everything else. That would be meme, which is Trump meme, and MAGA, Trump MAGA. So yes, these two have really considerably climbed up the market cap charts. Honestly, it's been difficult to keep track of all of the Trump-related meme coins out there, but if you are trading into them, do so at your own risk. We tend to not have the ability to analyze meme coins the way we would so many other traditional assets in crypto. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But despite the axes being kind of dwarfed here, we can still see that Bitcoin is up over the past week. It may not feel like it, but yeah, it was in the 82, low 83Ks a week ago and is up 1.7% still, sitting a little above 84.2K. Ethereum is back below 1900 now, down about 3%. And then we see mostly big drops. XRP, despite its big official victory over the SEC, is down about 7.7%. The theory, I think, is that the assumption was already that the lawsuit was over. So the official cap being put on it did not really move the needle the way some traders were hoping it would. Yeah, BNB about flat. Solana didn't really drop too much, only down about 2.6%, but obviously over the last month it has had its troubles. Doge actually up about 8.7%. So this has been a bit of a week for meme coins, kind of under the radar because it hasn't been talked about too much. Toncoin up about 11.5%. They obviously have an ecosystem with many meme coins attached. Chainlink making a slight gain. Yeah, nothing else too notable here. We do see a big notable drop on Ethereum and Hex down about 22%. So those who are still following Richard Hart and what's going on with the Hex asset and its constant polarization, it's interesting to see how much they've dropped off, at least as of late. And before I move over to some of the more traditional metrics, Maxim, are you with us?
Yes, I joined. Actually, I joined almost at the beginning, just a little bit missed. Had to deal with one thing here.
I can never tell on my screen as I do my opening opening rant there. But yeah, it's great to hear from you. How are you seeing this latest downturn all of a sudden?
Yeah, all of a sudden. It's, yeah, I agree. Actually, the way enough, I agree with all of a sudden. Yeah. The way enough, or there are enough now signs to think, okay, it's around the bottom conditions, but still we didn't have big capitulation lately. Yeah, the predictions as soon as we recovered were again very bullish. From that point, it was not so really suddenly drop. As soon as you see this slight recovery coming back to the bullish territory, is what people predict. So you can expect it might go lower, but still, yeah, it's just we all want to believe it's over and it can recover, but it's not. It's, economic war continues, yeah, or actually intensifies. Not only continues but intensifies. Yeah, might be we need to wait until gold tops up. It's been picking up for a long time. So, and that typical crowd behavior will flow there. Say, okay, this is now the only place where you can safely survive the economic storm. Maybe when it's become major narrative, then we can say, okay, now it's a stable bottom for crypto. Maybe
Yeah.
it will happen later. I don't think we are too far away. What in relation to crypto and in relation to Ethereum?
Stocks.
If you know stocks, I don't know. Stocks, I'm not following the tight enough to make my judgment. Just in crypto, whenever I look in Ethereum, yeah, of course we can go to 1.6, which means 20% down. But what is 20% for crypto? the usual few days. Yeah.
Just another day.
Yes, just might be painful though. Might be painful, so yeah. You will come to metrics. More or less, the lending borrow market is dead. Fees are dead in a sense that there is no demand. Typically, this is how bottom comes. No demand, transactions are few cents, and Ethereum been for some time. But then also, no one is borrowing whatever you want to borrow: USDT, USDC, DAI, Corf USD. There is no demand. The yield you get on it's so ridiculously low, 2.53%, which I saw in the last bottom. So it's on the positive side, but we'll get it one by one.
Yeah, I'm with you. It does feel like crypto is in a state of flux right now. And I was checking some of the social trends, looking at a few news stories. You know, there's no big spikes on the social trends page in terms of mentions of Trump. In fact, Trump's mentions overall have gone way down over time. Tariffs have gone down over time, and even with, you know, the latest news about Putin planning to finish off Ukraine and a little retaliation news going on, that isn't really spiking much on social media either. So it almost feels as though the markets are a bit exhausted from all of these topics and just kind of hoping and embracing themselves that things will turn around and get back positive soon. But I say this as Bitcoin is still up, you know, a little over 1.5% over the past week. So this drop is something traders are used to, but it's also not the largest one, at least not yet. And I will say that Bitcoin, as of today, if I go back to the screener, it's not bleeding nearly as much as altcoins. This is actually a very big altcoin bleed. You can see Bitcoin here down 1%. And we will be able to remove some of these, by the way, soon, so that it doesn't dwarf the axis soon. The devs are working on making this happen. But yeah, most altcoins are really dropping fast over the past 24 hours. Ethereum down almost 6%, XRP 5.5%, so on and so forth. Pepe down 8%. Just many big red candles across the altcoin sphere right now. So this is not so much an impact on Bitcoin as it is on those altcoin bags. So if you're having very speculative assets at the moment, this is a much tougher day for you than the ones who are just holding Bitcoin by themselves. Now, on the on-chain side, there's definitely some things we can look at right now. From a utility perspective for Bitcoin, I'm continuing to see just a slight downturn. This is not the end of the world. We're always going to see fluctuations on the weekends, but overall, we are going down over time. We go back a full year here, look at the transaction volume. You can see it really peaked here the first week of December with about $275 billion worth of transaction volume, and then it dropped to about 113 billion as of the last full week. Daily active addresses also moving down, circulation. That's definitely a downslope as well. So utility-wise, we are dropping right now, and that does need to turn around at some point to justify a rise. If we look at MVRV here, both are about break even here, Maxim. I mean, about as even as you can get for Bitcoin. Short-term investors are down 1% on average. Long-term down about 0.25% on average. So they're really just sitting about as break even as you can get.
Mm-hmm. So panic is now easily to induce. Here I sense
exactly.
If we just break the recent low, probably finally the panic will kick in. For solid bottom, what we've been missing for a long time is an activity on network realized profit loss or age consumed. It's even simpler. It's not that much. Yeah. So people are not panicking. And as you said now, on average, everyone back to zero, or not everyone, many who bought. It's too low for panic. Even you see the last 26th of February when we have kind of bottom for some time. Yeah, so this was more activity.
Yeah,
Realizing profit and realized losses, and now we're so neutral. It should change. It should change.
Yeah, and that shows perspective of this drop versus that one. This was obviously a much larger retrace where it went from yeah, I mean, Bitcoin dropped about 15% during this drop, whereas this latest one is only about a 3.5% drop. So it's just not that comparable right now. But I agree with you, Maxim. We need to see some negative realized loss numbers as an indication that people really are panicking. You can see during most of these big spikes in the negative direction, that's where we see these at least temporary bottoms forming. And there's just not really any negative realized or realized losses at the moment that would show that we might be forming a bottom. We can also check buy the dip. I think it's important that we look to see.
Yes, exactly. This is precisely what we were researching yesterday. Buy the dip and then this high, higher, low, lower. Yeah.
If we just put in, yeah, we'll do that one too. So first of all, if we just check out raw mentions of buy the dip, slight pickup here. If we zoom in just to look at it by like maybe a 2-hour scale, yeah, there's a little bit here. So people do recognize this as a legitimate dip. It's not just a normal market fluctuation to most people. What we want to see is the crowd getting complacent to the dip and believing that there's just no point in buying the dip because we're going to fall down further.
Yeah, can you take 3 months?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to compare with the previous talks about the dip. This is how we might also spot. So if just an assumption, or where we could look later on when the stream is over, when you look by yourself, assuming the price goes down, but the level of conversation about buying the dip is not higher but lower from what we saw. You see it on the screen, and not all the way back in February, but the recent spikes. Yeah, all those recent spikes. You can see it with your eye. If we will get lower volume of conversation, okay, it's a good argument. Then this is the bottom. Yeah. If talks about buy the dip again will increase to level higher, okay, questionable. If it is the bottom, but typically we've seen it a few times in the past. In the real bottom, they don't talk much about buying the dip, not because they don't want it, because there is a fear or there is a strong narrative or explanation why is it the bottom. In this case, likely will be around trade wars, tariffs. So, and this takes more dominance or more mind share than discussion about buying the dips. So finally, participants of the market take it seriously. Yeah, and say, oh, now there is a reason indeed. So we can indeed can go even lower. And then magic, spoiler alert, not magic, it just recovers. So this chart alone is actually could be good enough. I told you during the week I wanted to write, I still want to write a summary of how to spot the bottom.
Yep.
It's one of them, this chart, one of them. Yeah. I will eventually write it, hopefully around the bottom, not after it happened.
Yeah.
So that you can see the full set, the full basket, what person we in team using. I asked some team members what they're using. Yeah, this chart is cool. I like it. It's simple.
Yeah.
Interesting to watch.
I'll be putting together an article myself on that as well. So I'm excited to see both my perspective and yours, and I'll have some short pulse insights as we're in this dip phase right now as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides buy the dip, obviously we will look at whale behavior shortly, but I did prepare the other social queries that we talked about yesterday, Maxim. The first one being the mentions of very low prices versus very high prices. We're sitting at about 84K Bitcoin right now. The blue candles here are all mentions of round numbers between 10K all the way up to 69K. And the red candles are all Bitcoin prices between 100K to 159K. Obviously, most of these high ones we've never even seen before because the all-time high is just a bit above 109. So generally, the theory is when you see red bars, it's people getting greedy. When you see blue bars, it's people getting fearful. And obviously, you'll see more blue as we're dropping and more red as we're rising. But if we really zoom in, let's go to the last month, and we'll just make these 4-hour candles. In fact, we'll make 4 is fine. So we can actually see that even shared axis, there we go. Even when we are kind of going lower, there's kind of an even amount of red peaking over blue and then blue peaking over red. Lately, over the last 12 hours or so, as we've dropped, yes, there's some fear forming. I wouldn't call it severe fear, kind of like we would see here, but we are at least starting to see opinions popping up again. In general, just seeing higher candles from both sides is a good sign from what I've found, because it indicates that the crowd is getting polarized and there's an increased spotlight on Bitcoin in general. But as we said, this isn't a big enough dip just yet for the crowd to really start to turn their attention away from Trump or whatever other news stories are coming out and then putting it back on crypto yet. So yeah, if we drop back to 78K, which is apparently the most recent resistance price, or support, I should say, not resistance, that's where we will see a lot of polarity and news headlines coming out, and Bitcoin will suddenly see this level of social volume again. But for now, there's just a slight amount of fear, not quite enough where it would be a good bullish signal, because as we've mentioned, as Maxim's mentioned, prices go the opposite direction of the crowd's expectations, and we want to see the crowd believing Bitcoin is going to plummet back to 50K or 20K, whatever their crazy price predictions are, which sometimes can come true. Most of the times they don't. Prices typically will go the opposite direction of those predictions. All right, and as promised, I also want to look at the high or higher mentions.
Yeah. New kid on the block.
Exactly. We're just going to put in, this will be the blue one. So we'll go low or lower combined with Bitcoin or Bitcoin or BTC. We'll do the same here. High or higher. And there we go. So it's actually looking a little more scary on this chart because we've got red's really dominating blue. This is with shared axis on. I can turn it off and it really isn't going to change much at all. So most traders are still talking more about Bitcoin going higher than going lower, Maxim. This is not the signal we'd want to see, right?
No. So
we
wait,
could even
aggregated by 4 hours. Yeah, okay. US session started 2 hours ago. Okay.
Yeah, why don't we zoom out a little and look at some recent examples? We'll make it daily, just look at the last 6 months. And most of the time, we're seeing a dominating level of high or higher, but there are moments where blue starts to dominate, and that's very much where we see the bottom when blue is anywhere near red. Maybe we do it like this without the shared axis, and that can help.
Yeah. Also, keep in mind that it's a one-day aggregation, and as we are relatively fresh into bear market, you need to choose 12 hours.
Yeah, let's just look at the last month and go 12 hours.
12 hours or 4 hours here. Then you will see the difference happening.
Yeah, so you can see all the red tips recently here.
Yeah, exactly. So still unlikely that on a whole day basis, 24 hours, there are more expectation for lower. But if you take 12 hours or 4 hours, you will see it more frequent. And then it's up to you how interpret this chart. But the pattern somehow is there. Yeah.
Just curious if we add other words like altcoins or crypto and some additional words there just to get a larger sample size. I doubt it will change much. Yeah, you can see how much here, just the most recent 12-hour candles, pretty severe actually, big red tips compared to blue. Yeah, we'll keep shared axis off. But yeah, as of now, that's at least switched because of this drop. You can make it super granular, go 4 hours as Maxim suggested. Just to see if there's an official turning point. I'm not really seeing one, not yet. At least the most recent 4-hour candle, people are still talking about crypto going higher pretty emphatically. So we need that to switch soon.
Yes, the sad reality need to settle in.
Exactly. Yeah, just seeing if there's anything by platform, bullish bias on X, bullish bias on Reddit, and Telegram. It's pretty universal right now. So yeah, we're just going to have to keep an eye on it. But from a retail reaction perspective, it's not setting up as ideal just yet. What we can do is transition over to whales here, which are looking better from my most recent check. We'll take off everything except the 10 plus wallets holding anywhere between 10 to 10,000 and then 10 to infinity. Because both are kind of relevant. We'll go back a full year to see how things have looked. And yeah, actually the 10 plus wallets have really recovered quickly since March 3rd. They have accumulated during that stretch about just under 13,000 Bitcoin. However, if we really look at the specific key stakeholders that don't really include exchange wallets as much, they're more up and down. Most recently, they did go up. They recovered between March 22nd and 25th pretty aggressively, but they are actually ticking down once again now. So kind of an iffy picture right now. I'm still very happy to see the bright green line going up. So key stakeholders are scooping up a lot of the coins that the retail traders are dropping at the moment. And if we look specifically at, wallets that hold under 0.1 Bitcoin, you can see they're moving down here, Maxim. Since March 12th, over the last 15 days or so, full days that is, the retail crowd has dropped about 840 BTC after they did really try to buy this dip. So
Oh, giving up slowly. Yeah. Okay, good.
Giving up slowly. They've got a little more ways to go before this is a serious sign of them capitulating, but at least it's a start.
Yep.
Supply and exchanges, we can at least say happily, is continuing to stay down. In fact, it did make about an 8-year low, as we reported on social media a couple days ago. So as far as future sell-off risk, it's at least pretty mitigated at the moment. Funding rate, we should definitely take a quick look at. We just look at Binance first. Yeah, it does look like there's some shorts that are popping up here as of late. It's kind of transitioning between neutral versus short over the past 3 to 4 days. You want to continue to see plenty of shorting going on. Obviously, if there's a higher amount of shorts than there are longs, especially on the largest exchange in the world, Binance, that's an indication that liquidations can happen and essentially push prices back upward due to that liquidation fuel that's going on. If we switch to BitMEX, about the same, kind of transitioning between neutral versus slightly short. Again, we'd love to see on both of these exchanges consistent level of shorts, especially these big bars here like we saw on March 22nd. You can see how the price quickly bounced up right after those bars formed.
Mm-hmm.
Few other on-chain metrics. Total holders, we can see, is plateauing once again. Over the last 24 hours or so, it did move back down by about 20,000 wallets. We want overall to see the total holders going down, especially for short periods of time, because that's a sign of retail capitulation. I'm still a believer that long-term, we want to see the total holders going up because it's just an indication of expansion on Bitcoin's network. We also can check network growth, by the way, which I didn't look at. Yeah, it's pretty neutral at the moment. Ignore this drop here at the end. That's just the current day, but network growth has been fluctuating between 250K to about 325K for most days over the past 3 months or so. Going back to social tool, I wanted to check out the alpha narratives, which, nope, it has not been updated yet. We've got to check on Alex Semenov and see if he can give this an update soon. From a key narratives perspective, this does update on a daily basis. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have narrative on tariffs, just to see if it's getting a lot of traction?
Yeah, I checked in the beginning of our call.
Okay.
Nothing special going on. I'll put in tariff or tariffs.
Okay.
It's really kind of neutral at the moment. Maybe a very minor spike today on the latest news with Canada, but nothing special.
Mm-hmm. And if you enter gold?
What was that word?
Gold.
We'll add silver there too.
Okay.
See what's going on there. Definitely a steady rise in social dominance. That's interesting to see.
Okay. But no extreme signals. Okay, good. We might need to wait till we see, I would say, combination of 3, maybe even 4. Pay attention to buy, bot, buying depot dips, then low or higher, and then these two about tariffs and gold. They should kind of be clear and strong, the last ones, and the about buying the dips and high should become flat or even lower. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense. And you can really see the difference in how gold has performed versus the other two sectors. Gold obviously making an all-time high yesterday, or in fact, that was even earlier today. It got all the way up to 3111, back down to a little under 3100 now. But compared to crypto and the S&P, obviously many people are flocking to the physical gold, the safe haven that has been historically flocked to whenever there is global worries, especially potential signs of economic collapse or an apocalypse or something like that. Everyone has different perspectives on how close we are to one of those, obviously, and we're not going to get into that here. But from a crowd perspective,
now.
say it again.
Peter Schiff has his moment now. Moment of
revenge.
I'm
actually curious.
He's the one who is constantly blaming or making jokes of Bitcoin and say, okay, you think it has value, it has zero. And then typically propagating gold. Well, no, he has a point. At last, he can enjoy.
Yeah, it's funny. The last time we saw a big Schiff spike was on March 2nd. And I think a lot of people were making fun of him during this big jump to like 94K. And then everyone who was making fun of him got kind of owned and wrecked as we immediately dropped back down and stayed down. And that was the last time Bitcoin was above 94K. So interesting to see him as an as a counter signal. Either he's getting talked about a lot because he's wrong and everyone's laughing, or he's talked about a lot because crypto's going down and maybe then people are giving Peter Schiff more credibility. So it's funny how much people's moods change.
True.
By the way, Max Balresh, are there any questions in the chat? I know we've had a few weeks where there aren't many, but always want to check. Okay. We can also look at trending keywords. And we do see that Solana has been in the news quite a bit. Yeah, they've been discussed in tandem with KOLs as of late. I also made this insight. I don't know if you saw it, Maxim, but they had a huge influx of positive sentiment earlier this week. Let's see if I can find it really quick. So, well, yeah, look at this. This was from Wednesday, and they had an 18-to-1 positive versus negative ratio.
Well, that was a good signal, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And obviously, Solana has really fallen off a cliff ever since. We don't make direct price predictions in my insights, but this was a bit of a warning sign for those who picked up on this.
And this is a Bitcoin price, yeah?
Yeah, that's direct against Bitcoin's price. I thought about putting Solana's, but since I'm putting all 4 of the top caps at the same time, I just said, let's keep it with Bitcoin for now. But looking at Solana, as you would imagine, it's fallen off pretty hard, like most assets have the last couple of days. Let's just bring up that same chart that I used for that insight. Yeah, it's still very high. Look at this. Now it's up to 31.77 to 1 in terms of positive versus negative commentary. So this makes me think there's just a bot influx going on right now, because human-wise, it's pretty impossible to create this kind of anomaly.
Possible. Very possible, yeah.
Whatever the case is, I mean, ever since we saw that initial positive spike form on Tuesday or so, prices have gone down, about 9% since then, and 6% just in the past 2 days. So sentiment-wise, Solana is doing some very strange things at the moment. And we have seen some alpha from this chart quite a bit. That's why it's worth discussing. But yeah, as far as the top 4 go, the sentiment toward Ethereum and XRP are pretty neutral. And we can switch to Bitcoin just to get an idea here. Yeah, Bitcoin is falling back to neutral right now. None of them are like severely negative though. So this drop has not made a difference as of yet. I just got a message from Alex to refresh alpha narrative. So it may be ready now.
Oh, that was fast.
He must be watching.
Yeah, one of those. He is watching us.
All right. So just as he promised, we do see an updated week now. And yeah, there have been a few big spikes over the last few days here. The World Liberty Financial story where they launched the USD One stablecoin. This one, I'll just read kind of a brief summary of the AI. It says, the launch of stablecoin called USD One by World Liberty Financial is a platform tied to President Trump, pegged to the US dollar, and available on Ethereum and BNB chain blockchains. BitGo will provide custody services for the stablecoin reserves. Donald Trump Jr., Zach Witkoff, various info. Fidelity planning to launch a stablecoin as well. BlackRock expanding its money market fund to Solana. This might have a little bit to do with Solana there at the end, because I've seen a little bit about BlackRock's integration. So that's been dominating. We've also seen stablecoins in general here, Maxim. Look at these three big bumps here over the last day and a half or so.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a growing interest in stablecoins, which is a bit of a fear signal from what I've seen in the past. It's an indication that there's people trying to figure out.
In a sense, you're right. It's maybe the topic signal. I've seen a lot of conversations about that we grow so much stablecoin supply, or we like double amount of what we had. I don't remember, some time ago. I've seen publications in the crypt, maybe in the blog, also on Twitter. This topic was under discussion recently, so it would be part of this traffic. Yeah, I don't know. Suddenly, for me, it looked like suddenly people discussing, "Wow, we increased so much liquidity," something like this.
Well, it's got to be somewhat related to the USD One story that we just read, and then you can see at the top left of my screen, there's a kind of an influx of new stablecoins right now, maybe due to crypto's recognition of some demand for it right now. But we see USD One as well as AVIT, WYST, and FYHXX. Growth in supply and revenue of USDS, surge in supply of USDC. There's just a lot of stablecoin options out there in general right now, and they've been increasing ever since the all-time high top in mid-January. So it could just be a result of the ever-increasing amount of stablecoins. And then we see whales here. That's interesting to see. This was just as of a few hours ago. I know there's been some talk, remember just a week ago, how far we've come. People were talking about how quickly they plan on liquidating that whale that was planning to short the markets. I don't know if they did get liquidated. I think they had it at 86K. So unless they canceled, Bitcoin did get above 86K, and that whale may have felt the pain that everyone was hoping they would feel. But now whales are being talked about once again, and we see several topics related to them. Number one being Bitcoin whales making significant moves, withdrawing large amounts of Bitcoin from exchanges. I don't know how sensationalized that is, because the data is showing that whales are actually mostly staying content. In fact, moving up maybe just a tiny bit over the past week. There's also discussion about the impact of whales on the crypto market and their influence. So this is just education about how whales work. The significance of staking in the crypto landscape, as highlighted by a whale sending ETH tokens to staking to earn yields. Number four, Ethereum whales returning as ETH surpasses 2,000. Obviously, that's no longer the case, as it's in the 1800s now. Dogecoin whales accumulating over 120 million Doge tokens in a week. So I guess that has been part of the reason Dogecoin's been an anomaly, and it had about an 8-9% jump over the past week. We'll see if that lasts, obviously, with altcoins really getting crushed at the moment. Yeah, and just it looks like kind of just a general increased interest in what whales are doing, which makes sense anytime we have a downturn like this, people say, well, what about the key stakeholders? Are they at least accumulating? And according to our data for Bitcoin, it at least looks fine. They're not seriously accumulating, but they're certainly not dumping either. So whales are kind of the biggest topic we're seeing as of just the last couple of hours right now. Minor spike in GameFi, XRP getting a little more of a discussion as of right now. Yeah, and that's about it as far as big stories that are showing up on Alpha Narratives at the moment. But yeah, this is completely free for those watching right now. This platform is awesome, and you can simply open up the social trends on Santiment and click on Alpha Narratives, and you'll be able to track the same stories whether or not you have a pro account. So it's a highly useful way to just from a pure math standpoint, see which topics are rising in interest or dropping in interest at any given time.
Yep.
Okay.
Setup. The tool becomes better and better with the time. The more you set up for yourself, I mean narratives. This one you can check regularly, yeah, just to have an idea what the narratives. But I have my set, and it's so cool now. The moment you set it up, under recently viewed or key narrative, you can always check around and see has the market reached the stage which you would describe for yourself, okay, pattern is now finished or close to be finished. So start using it, and eventually you will not be able to live without it. I visit it at least a few times a week. Always, how's it going? In the past, like inflation, CPI, yeah, we're talking about. Oh, now I'm looking at this high, low, lower, and buy the dips. And then next week, maybe I'm looking for something else. Very useful. Yeah,
yeah, great point. It's got pretty infinite possibilities.
Yeah, especially you cannot find it anywhere else, like Google. If you type high, low, low, okay, it will be anything. But because of the data we collect, it will be related to crypto and prices most of the time. Yeah.
I'm looking also here at the mentions of meme coin related topics, and they were dropping off quite a bit, but actually recently over the last few days, there's been a bit of a rise once again. Not much, just you can see the biggest spike here actually was right when crypto topped. Mm-hmm. So maybe a little bit of a sign of greed there that happened just yesterday. We can also look at it from a sand-based perspective. I have this template here where you can look directly at the trading volume of meme coins, the top meme coins versus top layer ones. And yeah, you can see on the 26th here, meme coin volume temporarily went way above the others, and then we dropped off.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good signal. And then from a social volume perspective, probably close to the same thing. Yep, 24th through 26th, there was some pretty big meme coin discussion, and now it's all back to Bitcoin. So this is indicating we're starting to get back into fear. I'm gonna make the bars just a little smaller here, more granular. Yeah, so meme coin talk has now dropped back off after markets corrected, and now Bitcoin and layer ones are back on the menu in terms of social discourse, which is exactly what you'd expect. People get fearful and they say, is my portfolio safe? Maybe I should get back into Bitcoin as a relative safe haven, and then rinse and repeat. But overall, I'm not seeing many signals of fear just yet, Maxim. And it sounds like it's the same on your end, correct?
Yep. Not yet. Well, we need to break lows, then it will be as a...
Yeah, 78K is...
We can stay at current levels too for some time, my people. We'll see. At the moment, correct. There is some worries, but not real fear. Yeah.
Right. So we'll see if it hits that 78K support level once again, because that's the most recent one from a TA trader perspective that I know a lot are keeping their eye on. So if we do dip that low, expect polarity to really increase. Bulls and bears will vocalize their opinions, and we'll see this big push and pull that'll make the next move very obvious once we get there. Right now, it's still kind of mixed. I still like that key stakeholders are accumulating or at least holding on to their coins okay. But retail looks like they're going to dictate the next move right now. And of course, the global economic situation with tariffs, mild fears of wars breaking out, the Russia-Ukraine situation is still ongoing and seeing new headlines every day. So a lot to keep an eye on. And overall, I would say that the general thesis is we're in a slightly bearish condition at the moment until the crowd reverts back to fear, as we saw back here on March 10th or so when we hit that bottom. But yeah, thoughts from you, Maxim, in terms of what we should keep an eye on? Any specific charts that you think the community out here should be watching going into the weekend?
The simple ones would be exactly this. Of course, flip probably to founded rates maybe might happen indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Then realized profit losses should turn to some activity. And of course, if we manage to break the lows, amount of talks related to bottom. This I will be looking at.
Yeah.
After 1 or 2 day pass, we will see if we see emerging divergences on VRE. But if they happen, we will show it next week and maybe explain why it's so cool. They don't happen so often. It's a kind of mid to long term. Usually have it a few times a year. We'll see if it happens. But it has very nice. So it's a teaser. Maybe next week, if we discover it, we will share it with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Otherwise, looking for bottom to form.
Yeah. We'll be keeping an eye on it and inform you of any big stories that develop. I'll be putting out an article about how to find bottoms right now. And Maxim is working on his for maybe next week or so. So stay tuned for some long form insights. And thanks everyone for watching. Really appreciate the support. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, it really helps us out to have you hit that button. As meaningless as it may seem, it really does help. And giving a thumbs up, things like that, dropping a serious comment that isn't bot related, those are always fantastic too. So love those of you who watched till the end, and we hope you have a safe and pleasant weekend. Thanks for joining, Maxim.
Yeah, always pleasure when I can. Yeah.
All right, my friend. Take care, guys.